All right, so this PM training, we've been working hard. John Krutko, Aaron, and Jackie have been putting together a proposal of which we have involved civil, right, Jackie? Does the latest one have?
This does not have civil yet, but it will be up today.
Okay. So the civil piece is being added. So architectural-wise, Brian, if there is some pieces to this, and I said this to Mike Turner and to Mike Carter, we can add a civil or an architectural piece too. Jackie's more than willing if there's something that's special. Because this is the proposal we're putting on the bridge. So typically what I want to do is I want to show you all where to find it, because I know you're all going to tell me, I don't know where it is. So you go to the bridge. You were here and you're late still.
No, I was just holding my spot.
All right, so make sure you sign in. So just to recap, this is about proposals. And where you, of course, where you get it, you go to the bridge. Ah. So as you can see on the bridge, you go to contracts and policies, down to proposals, and Jackie has done a great job. There's an arc flash proposal because Brian from electrical gave us that. But here's the proposal templates with the corresponding city. This is our basic proposal template that we want everyone to use. It was written around a lot of commercial, so we are editing it, moving it forward to be more of the overall document. That was kind of the starting basis of this with John and Aaron. So there might be some things that seem commercial, but all of you have the chance to read this, like healthcare should read this and make some suggestions if there's some pieces to add about healthcare. That's what we want to do. Like I said, Joe Ferenzi finally got us this civil part, so Jackie will be updating that, and there'll be a civil piece in here. The point of this, let's go back to that. So the point of it is that we all use the same thing, we all have the same data, and I know you can't see me, but from the point of it says scope of work up, and the point where we talk about fees down is kind of the meat of it that should be on every proposal. The scope of work will vary per the proposal, okay? So first note on this, as you can see at the top, please read carefully. That's very important. I didn't do that the first time. And so I ended up with one of these Jackie comments and sent it to the client. Good thing it was K2M, and he just laughed at me and sent it back. But it's, if you read the instructions, it'll tell you how to delete all these out at the end. I personally like to delete them as I went through the comments, but you do want to delete the comments from Jackie out of the document before you send it, because they will show up. Okay? So basically we start with a P number. Everybody knows there has to be a P number for a job. I know that's been a little slow. If you have one that's a rush, request the rush from your admin. I'm having an admin meeting this week trying to get us all on the same page. So the admins create the Ps for you guys. Your personal admins, tomorrow in Florida, Susan for the MEP for everything north of Florida, Molly for infrastructure, and Barbara for SET. Now, again, we're trying to work through this so that it's a possibility to, because when you look at the stats for the company, Aaron's group is 36% of the company. So it's a little unfair to Susan. So I'm trying to make it, flow that if Susan can't get to it, it comes to someone else so that you're getting your P numbers. Remember, you're supposed to allow a week per the Hauser manual for Ps. So don't put a P in, and if you know you need a P for a proposal, put it in as soon as you know that, okay? The new P form is also coming out, which you'll be able to fill in. We finally got it done. You've seen some versions of it, but there is one. Basic information is needed for a P. If you need a project plan, then you're going to include one of Osborne's standard templates with that. So that'll be being rolled out to go along with this. So get your P number as soon as you can. If you need it that day, they can accommodate you. One of the others can accommodate. So you just need to ask though. But you can't ask every time that it's a P that I need right away, because then they're just going to say you're calling wolf, right? Wolf. Crying wolf. All right, so you always got to have the P. The date should be the date it's sent out. Kurt, we're going to have to edit that piece out. One thing that I'm going to get Jackie to add is some notes on revisions. So if you send out this proposal on May 17th, 2019, John sends it out, the architect looks at it, says, John, fix this, fix that. What happens when it comes back and you send out again, you should put the word revised in capital letters with the new date it goes out. And typically anything that you changed is in bold so that it matches. So Jackie will be adding a few instructions to this about that. Who you're sending it to, that's pretty easy. Now we got to start over. Matt Verjanik just arrived. Who you're sending it to, again, is pretty easy, but that should match what's in Deltec for your client or for your owner or for your architect or whatever else. Remember, all that information there is what should be in Deltec, so that when they are creating the P number, that's the right thing. So if you have client information that is not in Deltec, you want to make sure you're sending the accounting the business card so they can create that client in Deltec. A lot of times that's what holds up Ps, is that we don't have a client, especially as we're moving into Florida. We don't have the client information in, so they have to put the client information in order to create the Ps. So it is important that you know your client and get that information to accounting if it's somebody new that we've never dealt with before. Email address, everything's electronic. So we're sending everything out electronic. So you know when you send it, you're sending it to your client and you're CCing OEC accounting so that they know they have the contract or the proposal that goes with it. Now, as most of you know, when you get a P, there is a P directory created in the proposals, which is the L drive, okay? You should place your proposal in that P. Not you should, you shall place your proposal in that P. And any data that went with that. So Matt Verjanik, I asked for hours for NASA and Donald, and these guys all send me the hours not in our form, but they send them nicely in an email. I take that email and I make a PDF of it. I put that in the proposal drive so that we know what backs it up and makes that proposal happen. Now, one step not quite related with this, remember as a PM, when you go from a P to a J, you should go into that proposal drive, grab that information, and put it into the current jobs, which is the P drive, okay? That's the project manager's responsibility. Under OEC accounting, the proposal should be in there, and any data. If you took pictures, you move them over to photos. The only thing that doesn't go with you is the InDesign stuff, because no one can really access that. But if you had drawings, anything else, you're supposed to go get them as the project manager or assign somebody, draw that information over into the job folder. So we actually want to be able to delete P drive numbers as we go when information is emptied out. Yes?
And just a plug for marketing, if you want to have less to write and project sheet write-ups, make sure you save that proposal, because we refer to it a lot to make the job description. So
Yes.
we're asking you, we want a job, we need a project sheet, we'll go and find that proposal. A lot of times there's nothing there, so then you have to do more writing. So if you want to do less writing, make sure you save it.
So, and that's a great point. As part of the quality manual that Dave and I and Doug are working through, trying to create a little more depth on it, this is in there. This is a quality item. It's a checkpoint. So when the audit team goes out and says, okay, this became a job, they're going to look for the proposal. Is it in this drive? If it is, then you did good. If it's not, you might get dinged. But if you don't even find a proposal because it's on your hard drive, you're going to get dinged. It has to be here on the P or on the L. It has to be. You know, how many times I go look for a proposal that I could have, and the Word document, please, as well as the PDF, because if I send to the same client and Kurt wrote a proposal before, I want to be able to go grab that proposal as long as he followed this new format and possibly use it with, and just change some things. So put the Word document in the proposal folder. Any questions about that?
I have a question.
Sure.
Maybe I misheard you. I thought you said you wanted everything moved from the P drive to the J number once it's created, so you could eventually delete P folders.
Right.
But you want to keep the proposal in the P folder?
No, everything should get moved to the J
Okay.
if it becomes a J. But when you're starting the project, and that's, I did vary, I said, I'm going to vary from this topic, which is when it becomes a J, move it,
Okay.
move it. But
Okay.
everything goes in the L proposal under the job number. Now, they do L a little bit different, as hopefully most of you know. They do the L with the client name first, so it's not quite the same directory structure that you're used to seeing, but it is there, and it's kind of simple to follow. They do their markets, so you know if you were doing a healthcare proposal, you got to go to healthcare. So it's a little different. And does anyone really want to see that? And I could show you if you're unfamiliar with it.
Sean, when you move everything to the J number, who do you tell so they can delete the old P number folder?
Mike Massey will just automatically, will go through things when the P gets closed. Emily runs a report about things so we can go through and close numbers if they have been made into J's. So you don't have to worry about telling anybody.
So if you don't move it in time,
No, you won't get deleted. He doesn't have any real time frame. If he sees stuff in it, he's leaving it.
He's only leaving if they're empty. Or
He's only closing, yes, if they're empty. And it's not very often.
Okay.
But if we get close to space or something, we'll go through things and delete empty folders that have nothing in them on the P, on the marketing, or proposal drive, sorry. Okay. So again, follow Jackie's instructions down pretty good. You know, you fill in the P, you got to get the P. You fill in the info. You choose the services. So if you notice, we have SM, EPT, FP. You want to delete what you're not doing, okay? And then you put the official project description. A lot of times this is the RFP. The client sent you an email. You know, somewhere he said, you know, design a 15-story building, something like that, or I need a park designed, and he gave you something, or you got to kind of make it up. But kind of this official description, again, is what you put to get the P. So, you know, if it's Cleveland Clinic, Metro Health, Cleveland Clinic Cancer Center, that's kind of what it should say, the official project from the RFP, Cleveland Clinic Cancer Center in Cleveland, Ohio, or whatever, wherever it is. Of course, dear, you should always be formal here. This is a professional letter unless you have a very good relationship. Maybe Todd or Dave with Todd at Gateway, he might say, Dear Todd, or Mr. Greathouse, yeah, is really more the proper way. This is a professional letter. It's a professional thing, so it should be a Mr., Mrs., Miss, whoever you're saying it to. But again, if you do have a very good relationship, but I would caution you on that. Keep it on the professional level. You know, 95% of the time it should be a Mr., Mrs., Miss type of thing. Disagree? Agree? So after you've picked all that, we're going to have Jackie boost this size up because people seem to miss this. So project description. This is kind of where it all is about. Because you're going to read through the rest of the scope. The rest of the scope kind of just defines drawings we're doing, this we're doing, we're having this many meetings, this is what we're producing. This is where you're really describing, and this is where you want to get very detailed. So John gets a proposal for a high-rise, so he wants to say, you know, MEP for a 16-story high-rise with 254 apartments, 300,000 square feet of retail space. He wants to be as descriptive as he can, because that description then, when the guy says, John, I want to add 10 floors, that's the description that says, oh, now you're going to 26, I get more money, I go after an ASR. So you want to be as descriptive as possible. So it's important. You're writing that description, and this is where Jackie talked about, they grab a lot of their descriptions when we fail to give them the project write-ups that we promise, that Casey yells at us usually once a year for.
It's also important to note, in the comments to the side, Jackie has a great comment that says, always attach the conceptual or schematic drawings you may have received. So what happened to us in the past is we would do a proposal, we didn't give a great description, we didn't attach even the architect's SD plans, and then project scope changed and increased, and we really didn't have a leg to stand on to go back and ask for more money. So, like, if you get an SD drawing, it should be attached with the proposal when you send, so that you can always come back and go, wait a second, this is a 26-story building. This is what you told me I was pricing when I first did the proposal. So,
And again, John makes a great point too. You don't attach the RFP here. That's not, you know, you want to put your description in your words so that when the guy reads it, he understands that you understand what his project is. So you're really, this is not attach an RFP. This is attach drawings or anything to back your support up. But we don't want one-line proposals anymore or any less. So make sure that you're kind of giving a great description. It should be a paragraph. It should be 3 or 4 sentences, right? I mean, it could be longer than that. It doesn't matter if it's a page. If that's what they're asking us, you know, a lot of NASA work, there might be 12 areas they want us to do. So you have 12 bullet points there. You know, room 102, we're doing this. We're doing something civil outside. Describe the project. However, it's paragraph, bullet points, numbers, whatever you need to do. Okay, roll up. There we go. All right, so now we get to the scope of work. Again, anything in red, you want to make sure you're filling out. Osborne will provide whatever service we are. This is where, again, you'll see tech is in 3 spots here, and so and probably civil will be similar, and maybe architectural will be similar. So when we exclude things, you know, you want to make sure that matches. My understanding is someone left a T in one of these, and we ended up doing all the T on the project that we didn't get paid for, because we said T, and the architect held us to that. So that's how important it is to make sure you reread. Send it to Jackie, she'll read it for you, right? If you need someone to proofread, you know, you should be sending it to the guy sending it out, which there's no division head people in this meeting. You know, under 225,000.
Nobody.
Oh, I forgot, one division head. 225,000, the division head is allowed to sign, under 225,000. So the division head or the PIC should always see this proposal. Always, 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 always. Oh, it's 200,000, okay. We haven't posted the rules yet, which we will be. Inflation. Okay, so again, are you going to have pre-design stage or not? Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Sometimes we're getting into we just did the project down for a manufacturing plant where we went out and did like a study. That could be the pre-design phase. So you could say study. Maybe they want to study in the fall. So maybe you're doing it, maybe you're not. If you're not doing it, take it out. If you're doing it, edit. You know, are we doing a 1-day trip with everybody? Are we doing a 2-day trip? Are we issuing a formal report? Be specific on what we're doing. The more specific you are, the better chance we have at getting an ASR if the scope changes. And guys, this sets up the whole scope. So this is it. It starts the whole project. That's why it's actually part of the QA/QC process. It's very important. You know, it governs everything moving forward. I've seen some proposals in the past that said, we'll do the scope you said on the phone or whatever. I mean, literally, it was a 1-line scope. And, you know, you have no room to stand on. So we were doing things, whatever. If the owner came up and said, I want you to do this, well, okay, yeah, we'll do anything you ask, so we'll do it.
I love the one with the periodic site visit.
Yeah, can't say that. What is periodic? You know, every day, even weekends, twice a day. You know, you have to define what you're doing. And we,
Hey, Sean,
yes.
this is Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
For that pre-designed site observation phase,
Mhm.
I've used that in studies, but defining what we're providing,
Yeah,
which is useful when you actually give this to the team, because they're like, oh, this is what we need to write.
yep.
But that way the client knows this is what you're doing.
Yeah, so you, to Jeff's point and to mine, you manipulate these. Personally, I want to do one phase, and accounting wants you to do one phase, and all of you want to do one phase, and that's construction documents, because you want just one number to bill to, okay? That's how you set, you got to know what your client wants. You don't do 3 phases. If the client doesn't want one phase, you don't have to do 3 phases, right?
So this consolidates tasks and deliverables for
It can if you write it that way. If the client says, I don't care, bill me as you go, all I want to see is 100% documents, or if it's a study report like Jeff was saying, then you're going to narrow it down. But I know Dave's going to say, most of the time the client wants this type of thing, so okay.
I'll add in the fact why I want it on my
Right.
project versus others, is I like having milestones at schematic design where I get an owner sign off on the plan.
Yeah.
Because I have an ASR checkpoint in it. I like DD being signed off.
Yep.
I have a sign off point. I have, going into CD then, I have 3 chances to get ASRs versus 1 on the other way of looking at it.
So that's a great point. So you really got to understand what the client's looking for, because again, and we're going to add some language in here, I think, Jackie, that we talked about last meeting about schedule. If you are looking for the owner to do a schematic design review, you have to be specific in your schedule piece that we're adding that says the owner has 1 week to review, or the schedule will be affected. You've got to make sure, again, you're giving the owner what he wants, you're setting the project up like you want and he wants, you're billing it like you want. So certainly for a state of Ohio job, you have to have all these phases because that's how they bill, through Oaks. Okay? So the proposal should follow the billing for the most part. Any questions about this? And again, these are just lines like, this is, really generic, load estimates for electrical. They were just throwing things in there. It's just your scope that you're doing. Joe's added some civil things. We should add some architectural things, what we're doing.
Be fairly consistent with what
Yeah.
we expect you to be doing in the SD phase.
Right. And again, Brian, this was written based on a commercial job, and that's why we're posting it as it is today with Joe's stuff, civil, but we want to expand. I'm asking every one of you to read it and send anything to Jackie, Aaron, or John if you have some changes or some recommendations, because we want it to be the company-wide.
Where does this live right now, this document?
This lives on the bridge under proposals.
One thing we should probably discuss in terms of architecture is how this will translate to the O Sports.
Yes.
We do have a proposal template for O Sports, but it's very different from this, so that should probably be talked about next.
And understand, this is a letter proposal. That's all this is. When you're going through marketing or doing 330s, whatever the forms are, when we're doing an NRSD, we're writing technical approaches, or the water district, that's not this. Okay, this is what you guys would typically do. You wouldn't necessarily involve marketing. You would just be writing a proposal letter that you're sending out through your division head or through the PIC. That's all this is. But we want common language and we want detail. Again, we go through design development. It's, these meeting things, these are the items that stick us every time. How many meetings? How many phases? How many bid packages? All that stuff you got to define. You'll see it later when we exclude multiple bid packages, but typically we end up in a multiple bid package. Structural goes out as an underground. It forgets about electrical. It just gets to be crazy because people, they change it as we go, right? I mean, they get in the middle of it and they want, let's get an early structural, let's get an early site package. That's where the PIC has to be involved, or the division head, with, is that a change to our contract? And are we going to pursue it? I think I did make a little speech last time about if the division head or the PIC accepts something, and Elyria is a good example. we have language in there, one meeting, and they want you to be out there 2 times a day doing an above ceiling punch list, and you go to the pick and the pick says, do it, do it. I won't use explicitness because we're recording. Just do it. It's part of your job. We don't need to argue about it, and we might lose money, but that's not your decision that we've lost a little money or we're giving up something. That's the pick or the division head's job to do that. There's relationships, there's other things that weigh into all these decisions that we don't want you guys worrying about.
Until
So-
we get to it.
But that's, the person being whipped is the division head, not you. He doesn't, he gets whipped on the side. John gets whipped separately by Aaron, who gets whipped.
Don't do it, John. You should support that by saying, that's okay, but that's an internal change. Just because
Yes.
the PM feels it's an internal change to the proposal, to what's going on, you can still write your internal change,
Yes.
document it, use that piece to support you when that does
Yes.
get asked.
And I can tell you, so Aaron says, he was in the last meeting, I think. He says, I go to whip and I get whipped 50 jobs. I get chastised. How many jobs? Yeah. Do you get a dozen? So Aaron's goal is to cut that down to 10. Well, the only way Aaron cuts that down to 10 is if you've documented. So if you take that to Doug and you say, Doug, this is a change. We do have an internal design change notice, guys, on the bridge. And you fill that out and you give it to your PM. And he says, okay. And Doug says, yep, I'm doing it. Aaron should be able to take that in the meeting and say, Doug said we're going to do this. This is costing me this. We don't talk about the job. That was a decision made up here, done. 49 now, he gets whipped on. What happens is they go into the meetings without the knowledge of why, or hours just seem to go here. You've got to keep your PM and your pick or your division head on the same page as yourself. And you've got to have knowledge of the proposal. That's why it's under accounting, on the drive, in the jobs directory, under accounting. You should know this proposal. If I say go out and do a punch list above ceiling, you should be able to say, I only got one punch list per the proposal. And that's a design change. And you take care of it. And you don't feel bad about it. That's a decision being made without you. Just go do the work. It's still work we want to do. We want to support a client. We want to do it. No, let's go out there and do it. Construction documents. And remember, please don't, when you copy proposals over and over, make sure you don't leave the other architect's name in when you're sending it to I know that's probably happened to several of us in this room.
I would recommend starting from scratch.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
this really kind of precludes doing
It should start from scratch, especially since it is an evolving
In
document.
a 30-page document, it's
I agree. But if you do copy it and use it, make sure, do a search, do something. Again,
So I have a question on that construction document page.
sure.
Since we list all of these calculations, are we actually delivering those?
It depends on what you say. Again, it doesn't say that we're issuing a written report. It says no written report. So we would just be performing them during stages.
We're not saying we're delivering them.
No, we're not saying.
Finalizing our calculations, that's.
Right, we're not delivering them. But if they would want them, then you would say we're delivering
There
them.
may be, we may want to think about like a deliverables section. Yeah. I mean, in there,
Well,
we say we're going to provide.
It's right here. Submit stamped and signed PDFs.
Right, like that last line is it.
Jackie, maybe we note that. If you have that comment, then make it, please. It's a good thing, it's a good comment, Jeff, and maybe we do have a deliverable section so it's very clear.
When we issue construction documents for construction,
If we're doing that, then you would put that in here. Remember, this
I
is,
mean, it just
go ahead, Jeff.
seems redundant, because we've got HVAC, electrical, and structural load calculations, then we've got lighting and power
Oh, I
design
see, I see
calculations.
what you mean. Yeah,
Okay.
I did notice that too.
So-
Kind of like tripled up that thing on 405.
So wait.
407.
Don't get caught up on the numbering content. This is an example. You can delete or add to any one of these. It's John and them just kind of, that's why I'm asking you all to read it. Maybe Jeff, you're right. It should say something different. Get your comments back to us. Maybe HVAC doesn't like what you see, structural doesn't like, or wants more, you know. Go ahead.
Is our message maybe a little not so clear, because in these sections, we said you're editing the stuff that's in red?
Yes.
Because this is kind of misleading to say the only thing in that paragraph you're misleading is red. Really, that whole section is
It's red, yes. I think the red is highlighted because it's what we really want you to focus on, yeah.
Understand,
Yeah.
understand, but the issue is you're building your work plan and your deliverable list inside
Yeah.
of this piece in the scope of work.
So we'll make some edits to this to make it a little clearer. Maybe we'll put it, but Jeff, just so you know, and I kind of said at the beginning, I don't know if you were on, between the scope and the end where we start fees is kind of your section to edit to what you're doing with your project. And these are suggestions, because you can clearly see this was done by an MEP guy named John Krutko, and he doesn't really have much structural there, even though Aaron was in there. I don't see any word structural.
It's the red one.
Yeah, you know, but then it's lighting and power calcs, yeah, so, you know, can we use better wording in there as a guide? Sure,
But part of this document is to make things easier.
Yes.
With our MU standard language.
right.
So we're not going to be going in here and editing that substantially.
And that's why we want everyone to read it and come back, you know,
And we already had a committee, just so if
Yes.
you don't know, who has reviewed a lot of this from all disciplines.
so, but again, make some suggestions after you read it, if you really want.
I think what takes some time too, especially electrically, are alternates addressed in here? Saying we will not do any alternates, just like you did phasing or something, and.
We didn't address alternates.
It should probably be part of the exclusions, because don't you have exclusions?
We
at
have
the end?
exclusion.
Do you have a list of the words we shouldn't be using for insurance?
Oh, I've got that thing.
Sure.
That,
And all that, is that listed?
I've got that.
That's why Jackie and everyone's reading through it before it's posted.
It's a scroll
No,
that
no,
you,
I'm saying after it's posted, did people start editing it?
We don't have that.
Or,
Can that be posted there
Sure.
as well, or?
Well, I also think you should, this is where the use of your admin should come in. They should be, have you know, taught this form.
Yes.
They should be taught things like that, and they should be
Hold on,
able
let's
to
see yours.
summarize.
Oh, no, no.
Okay.
I get what you're saying.
I'll just say this, and so, the intent of this document was really between Doug and I we're reviewing proposals for a while, and we're seeing a lot of proposals that just,
Were
as
crap.
Ron said, had no definition of scope of deliverables whatsoever. So Doug and I came up with this just to start getting people going in the right direction. A lot of the language is straight out of the Hauser manual, and that's where I got it. I'm not smart enough to just invent all these words. I looked it up in the Hauser manual, like, oh, look, our own company policy tells you exactly what some of these things are supposed to be. So as far as a list of, like, you know, do's and don'ts, it's probably in there somewhere. If you dig into that and look into it, I'm sure it'll say something.
And I want you to understand, like Jackie's saying, these are the basics, and we only want you to look at the red, but maybe we need to expand the red. I mean, that's a good point,
Right.
that we're redundant or whatever, but it was written by an MEP, guys.
For example,
And
I say
it's-
compare one CD prior versus middle at approximately 75%. Well, I don't know, maybe your architect wants one at 50%, or maybe
Right.
wants one at 60%. We're just trying to give some outline and limits as to, so that we don't get killed on multiple progress sets.
Yeah,
The
and-
key word in that is one.
Yeah, that's what that's about. That's what I want you to realize. And you're right, we don't want to edit the dark language as much, and maybe we'll turn more red, but there's,
Why wouldn't you just put like a vertical line that's red for the sections that you should be really looking at?
we could do that.
Instead of making the whole thing red.
Okay. And then we can keep the highlighted things, because this is important. It's, you know, and this special inspections thing, this is a structural thing, so there are a couple then. But special inspections, we review them, we're not doing them. You know, we don't want the client to think we're doing special inspections. I don't know if civil has any of the, I mean, it's mainly structural. So,
Well, right, so like, if, for example, in construction phase, we say maximum of 2 shop drawing reviews and approvals
Yes.
per person middle. That's so that you're not reviewing 10 times the same thing and the contractor keeps screwing it up. I've given you 2, and after 2, I have the right to say, hey, you have to pay me again if you want that. Going on this one.
That one is so important because I don't know how many times I hear we get it back 4 or 5 times.
What happened if you check, revise, and resubmit both times?
That's on them. And that's the language that we then write an internal ASR or an ASR to say, listen, this guy can't get it right. I think Trish had one where the lighting guy kept trying to submit the same fixtures that we rejected 4 times.
I mean, I've told architects before, hey, I'm rejecting this for the 2nd time. Tell them I'm going to charge you if they send me the wrong thing again.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and that's kind of what we're trying to say is, you sent me the wrong thing twice in a row. Don't send me the wrong thing
You can
again and again and again.
Isn't in here where you're supposed to say the response time too?
We're talking about schedule, no, this wouldn't be that. That's kind of written in the contract documents. Yeah, it's in the specs. And in the specs is where, if we're architects, it should be about we should charge for more than 2 shop joints. That really should be somewhere on the drawings or in the documents.
Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, we actually got paid one time, I think, for something. 1 or 2. Hey, 1 time is better than none.
But at the very least, it's a mechanism that you can show your client and go, you know, this is why I returned it without review, because it's completely wrong and I'm not even looking.
Yeah, like I said, 5 times, the guy kept trying to submit the same fixtures. With what, a different reasoning? I mean, it's the same package you just sent me. So,
But change the order so you had to do it every time?
so we get to the clarification part. This is very important. This is where we clarify. Are we doing lead? Are we not doing lead? What are we doing? What are we not doing? We're existing utility. This is a great one. Hey, we're renovating a building. We're assuming the service is adequate. It actually shouldn't just say electrical, and I'm not sure if John, water, gas, sewer, you know.
Do you need to revise the part where it says provide 1 punch list per discipline? Because it's above
You
and
should,
final usually. So do you need to clarify that it's just 1 final punch list? Or will they just read that and assume you're going to give them 1 for each phase of their construction? Or
this is prior to beneficiary occupancy. You're talking about this one.
okay, prior, but there's a lot of time prior to that.
It's supposed to be when it's complete. There's only 1. You're only doing, if you want me to come out and do a punch list when you're just coming out of the ground, I'll do that. But I'm only doing it once.
For healthcare, there's.
You would change, the point is, for healthcare, you would put 2. That's the point of this.
Shouldn't that say substantial completion and not beneficial occupancy?
See that.
Substantial completion.
Well.
I think that is better.
Okay.
At substantial completion.
Let's get, those are good comments, I think you get to Jackie.
Hard to define what
Yeah,
substantial.
could you please send me your comments?
Yeah, please send the comments to Jackie. I like them, they're great.
Substantial to me.
Okay, but it's not a debate on substantial.
That's a funny word, that's a contractual thing, because beneficial occupancy is also considered legally substantial completion.
Yes.
So, in the courts, so, I mean, that goes back and forth between your contract and your specifications.
Agreed. Again, make your assumptions, your clarifications, okay? If you're expecting that you don't have to do any grading, then you should say, I don't have to do any grading for this parking lot, or I don't have to follow a whip, or a SIP, or whatever it is. A whip and a swip. A swip. A swip. You know, less than an acre. Clarify that. Hey, this property is less than an acre, no SWIP plan will be provided. It's a clarification. So the guy knows he's not expecting a SWIP plan, because they're very expensive to do a SWIP plan, right? Yeah, they can be. And probably number says about, yeah, so it's interesting because we say electrical service is big enough. I'm not sure why that one got in there and not water and plumbing, because BizJet got it in there. So, you know,
Because I went on
Because if you're doing
vacation.
a new building, it's
That's true.
that should be taken out.
Send me-
Yeah,
I mean, I think a lot of these are very editable.
they're very editable, but it's the concept of being as detailed as you can. Things you wouldn't think of, water, gas, sewer, You know, how many of, you don't think of that. Oh, I'm adding a room to this building. I'm putting an office space in this empty space. No big deal. Then you find out, you don't have a gas service to the building, or it's not big enough.
But that is a bit of your pre-design, what you've known about your piece. Do you
Yeah.
need to go out, are you doing that work to go get your utilities? Do you need now water for a fire pump? Do you need all these other things to support whatever's coming in? Maybe they don't have the gas pressure you need for what you thought your design was gonna be, or what your equipment was gonna be. Some of this stuff from preliminary stuff or whatever, and/or can clarify where your limited responsibility is.
And that's a great point, because again, this was written from a commercial part. So John gets a client in Florida, sends him an RFP that says, I want, a 5-story building. And so he's he doesn't go look at the site. He only has limited information, so he's protecting us. Dave's point is excellent too. If you can get out to the site, or if you know the site, you can look at the site, your proposal can be even better because you can clearly define what you're talking about. This is where we get into the technology. So Dan has put his 2 cents in, and you're either going to include technology or not. So there's like 2 pieces in here. You're picking one of these, what they're doing, but again, you should be using Dan or somebody in technology to understand what the scope is and review the proposal so that we get this right. Because too many times we get burned on technology. The owner thinks technology is XYZ, it's security, it's a door, or whatever. There's so many things. I think last meeting I said it's probably 10 or 12 things in technology.
Well, that should also go into the scope of work.
It should be. And if it's written up there, then it should be taken here. But if it's not, then you're wiping that out. And down here it says no technology in the exclusions.
SFMC, it's 26 systems.
26, and I don't believe they consider fire alarm technology, but yeah.
But that's one of them. 26
So, yeah.
So what you just said there, I think is a good point. Okay.
That's just a big.
Exclusions, clarifications, and scope of work.
Mm-hmm.
I think the redundancy, we need to be careful on, and what you said there is right. So if you're saying that technology services are in scope of work, don't include the thing at the bottom that says, here's what we're providing in
Right.
technology. And if you're excluding technology, you don't need to clarify you're excluding.
Right. If technology gives you a scope and you put it up there, John just kind of stuck that here as the technology scope that you can just pick. Yeah. You're right. Exactly right.
There's a lot of overlap between those three.
There-
You need to put it in one spot.
There is overlap in here, but that's because pieces and parts go like that. You don't want both overlapping, but you might have it here or you might have it here. Depends on how good your proposal is, how much information you've been given. Face it, if the guy just says, I got a 100,000 square foot, 6-story building, John, give me a proposal. And I want technology. So, his project definition is minimal. Here, he's clarifying, this is what I'm giving you for technology, what I've priced.
So that's a really, why is it in clarifications then? If you're picking T at the very top, right off the bat, when you're on your memo line, you pick a T, shouldn't it be at the top?
No, what John did is he's writing the proposal, he didn't go to Dan, so he's defining what the technology, he didn't get a description from Dan. This is reality, this is written,
The
so
bulk of the
he,
projects are MEP.
yeah.
T is
So-
always an afterthought.
So he's kind of put this in as an afterthought, he didn't,
So I'm just saying, as
Yeah.
an afterthought, you're not gonna burn me and have me do this massive technology project. I'm telling you, I'm only doing this. And if it was more substantial T, which we do have, that would be more up in the description
Right.
of the scope, and then you wouldn't need this down here.
In
Yeah.
which case Dan would be writing it,
Yes.
he would know that.
Yes.
Correct. I mean, even on a high rise, most of the time, T is, we're giving you a DMARC room and we're gonna, do some type of Wi-Fi and probably not do data or AV all through the building. So it's just, in the commercial world, T is still
like I said,
not a full.
very written to commercial. As we grow this, I hope that it gets away and it's picked. Because we should involve Dan in a proposal, but commercial just, they're different and they get thrown together sometimes, clarifying. But you should have Dan involved in any other proposal that is, I told you guys at the beginning, this is written by 2 mechanical guys kind of on a commercial side of things. Now I want to expand it we've got civil added. We want to make this the master proposal, and that's why it takes all of you, healthcare. I really think there's some sections in healthcare that should be added in here. But Jackie and I aren't going to write it. John's not going to write it. He doesn't even like to go to the doctor. So I need you. Joe stepped up and gave us the civil stuff. I appreciate that.
A lot of these proposals lump civil in there for
Yeah.
John, and so it's a quick condensed version of the
Right.
civil. Again, you should add to it or subtract based on the project needs.
So
We're gonna have our own separate civil.
Yes.
only
That's what I was
too.
gonna say,
Yeah.
are we gonna still go that?
So we will have our own separate civil because it can be huge. But, the reality of it is, and I'm not picking on John, I think I said this in the other meeting too, is John wants to just do what John does, which is MEP. And if there's civil with this, he's going to ask Joe or John Michael to give him a civil proposal that he's going to give to the client separately. That's fair. That's not critical. What we're trying to write here is the NASA job that Donald's doing that has civil, structural, electrical, So we're doing solar borings, we're doing this out civil-wise, we're putting in a sump, we're doing structural. This is a multidiscipline proposal that gives you enough good information that we're not going to get burned.
So are we gonna have,
Yeah.
if I'm not the client contact or one of the civil department guys aren't the client contact,
Yes.
Donald, you need to read through the civil items and at
Mhm.
least understand it if you're gonna attempt to translate those services to us for a fee.
Are we
Right.
gonna have multiple versions of this thing?
That's
No.
what it's for.
We're going to have one version and then a civil version.
On clarification.
I wouldn't do that, because actually, this is Doug Lancaster's proposal. You guys are giving me all this credit, and I'm
No,
gonna
it's
get
the Kruk
fired
Co.
by the president of the company.
Okay.
On clarification, does the scale,
Hey. We're taping, please.
does the scale of the project dictate what you say on some things? So, like LEED, for instance, do I need to say I'm not doing LEED on a 750 square foot security building?
Yes.
Yep.
So you want to keep, if there's no fire alarm system in the whole building, do you want, even if you,
Yes.
So put
so,
it in the exclusion.
so there's a possibility to have a proposal for like $10,000 where it's like a 10-page proposal where
It's not-
we're excluding like 75 things.
You'll see the exclusion. It's not going to be 10 pages, but you need to be detailed.
Lead and environmental.
Yeah. And you,
Well, that might have been a bad example, but I'm just saying that, is there
Here.
a point where a project gets to the sophistication of a client dictates that you don't want to put a bunch of line items into the
No.
proposal?
every client will burn you. I say with the exception of probably, if you have a David relationship with Todd, I don't think we'd ever get burnt by Gateway. If you have that good a relationship, but if you're doing CMHA, you're doing
I get
yeah,
it.
you gotta
But
put
what
this
I'm saying
stuff-
is that is there a point
I
where
know.
there's a point where you could say, here's our proposal, Mr. Client, and they're like, look at what they're hitting us with, they're like being so particular about this, I don't want to work with you.
I think you ought to consider that as a group, from the group coming back to you. There's enough people to say there's some projects, $500, $1,000 projects that we don't need to spend 2 days writing a proposal for. We'll spend more money writing a proposal letter than we will for our fee.
Yeah.
There ought to be a consideration to that statement.
There can be. But, you just got to be careful.
Well, you're still.
A $10,000 fee could cost the company
No, yeah, you're right.
$100,000.
Yeah, I don't think there's that many exclusions there, and every one of
Yeah.
those are pretty good things that you better make sure you're thinking about when you do your proposal, You definitely don't want to be on the hook for value engineering, or multiple bid packages, or food service design.
Unless the client wants multiple bid packages.
So,
You leaving again already?
Sean, don't you think within here you should have an idea of how much
Then
time
get 'em
you're
to
gonna
us.
have to turn these documents over, and then you include in the proposal where the cutoff point
We
is?
do.
That's, yes.
we do. I can
Where
show you
is
some
that?
examples.
What does that mean?
So
We're-
those are kind of customized proposals, but I can show you some examples where we
Cleveland
have,
Heights, for
we have
example,
time
like,
frames
we have
behind
9
SD.
months set aside
Yeah.
for design
we
time.
do.
You eliminate 6 months, you don't get it in 3.
So Jackie is adding a schedule part to that. That's a very good point. We're going to add a schedule section.
There's different ways to do it, but I've done it before, where
Yes.
after like SD, I say approximately 6 weeks, DD,
Yep.
and then at the end of the proposal, we say, construction administration based on 24 months construction time.
But But they could throw
We
that
do
back at
look
you
at
and be like, that wasn't in the proposal. We
It's gonna
never
be. We're
agreed to
adding
that."
the
Like,
schedule.
if you had an email
Yes.
saying, this is what,
Yeah.
We're adding to the schedule. We're adding.
Some of those things that you gotta remember, this isn't a contract, this is a proposal. So the proposal is one thing, the AIA or whatever you get back from the contract for the
Well,
job is something different.
you say
And a lot of times
fast
that's
track
defined there.
construction. If you don't identify what the timeline's gonna be, what's defining that fast
Agreed.
track construction?
We're gonna put a schedule in here. We're gonna put a schedule piece. You're exactly right. Fast track construction could be 2 years to somebody and 1 month to someone else. So we're gonna try to put a little bit of a schedule in.
So just to say, you're gonna go on and say, this is actually a contract, because you have a signature block going on this document.
I was gonna correct John there when I got to that part. So I will show him that
He didn't
we've,
remember the Crucko
no, we added the,
part where-
the Crucko proposal part ends about here and, and the Lancashire proposal comes in.
Well, so, but the signature part that we added is the
Wait.
latest version of a
Let me
contract
show you.
you're gonna see in your life. It's really our PSA.
So, just so you, Revit, is it Revit? If it is, what level of drawings are we doing? 200, 300, 100? You know, we have to define all that kind of stuff. We have to know what that is. If it's no Revit, take it out. So sometimes, so again, we have different delivery models. We're doing design build. Aaron's working on design build, right? Jackie, I think. We have CMR at risk where we have a GMP. So we'll have language in there that if it's a different than a design bid build project, we have language in there. So that we define when we're giving, this is the CMR at risk when you're doing a GMP, typically at 75, 20, who knows? I've seen GMPs at 30% CDs, which I don't know how you do that, because that seems awful low, but we've done it. GMPSD. So again, Jackie will be adding the design build. There'll be some language, because we do work design build. We try to do a lot of that, more than you guys realize, I think. I think we've already talked about what it does not include. Take some of these out. If you're, to Brian's point, if you're doing a garage and there's no food service, you don't have to, don't say food service of any kind. If you're doing a civil project, of course, John, Michael, and Joe aren't going to say no food service of any kind. No furniture layouts for civil. You know,
They'll come back and want it.
yeah, no, you didn't lay out the benches. So,
There's a line that says that anything that's not specifically listed above.
yes, and I love this line, and that could be probably the only line. It would be a tough stand in court, but, you know, you could probably stand it up. Yeah,
They're signing.
because they're going to bring what they call reasonable, what do they call it? Expected standard of care. Would an engineering firm do this?
The courts don't decide what.
No, but
Still variety.
agreed. But I'm just saying that they might get fought on that one. But we put it in there.
That's for us to push back on.
I agree. I agree.
Just because we forgot something on a list doesn't mean we're gonna do it.
Agreed.
Sean, one good point here is actually the very top line now, site lighting.
Yes.
Seeing that we're gonna have, this is going to be more facilities driven, we'll have a separate civil one.
Yes.
Civil will always, in this company, exclude site lighting.
Yes.
So,
But there should be a site lighting piece in there that if they want it, yeah.
It would be an exclusionary.
Yeah.
it's excluded, right, from us, so that, just as a general principle moving forward, there are times that civil work for an owner, and the MEP or structural or.
Is separate.
Would work for an architect. You know, we've run into it, you know, a few times. But that's something that sometimes contractors assume that it would be in the civil set. We just need to make sure that as we're doing, you know, multiple phases on projects that start at completely different timelines, that we just, you know, coordinate a little bit more internally. That seems to be one that different people, especially in different regions, will assume different people are doing it.
I agree.
We run the same problem with retaining walls too. We like to say that
You-
they're not included in our base price, but we can provide it.
And that's how your
From a civil
civil, and I feel like Matt should enter some structural wording up here that's in red, like we did with tech. And Brian Bizjack or Tricia should do some site lighting wording. And your proposal should have them in there so that if they want you to do that function, you can. Because that's what this is. This is a master proposal that, we want you to sell site lighting. So in reality, we want you guys to say, hey, we can do the site lighting for you. Let me put it in my budget.
I would balance that.
Balance
We
it.
don't want to put every exclusion in the world.
No, I'm talking about wording so that if you do want to put site lighting, we've given you the wording that you can do the proposal in.
You do need to define those things. I have a project right now where the client just assumed, because Osborne is multidisciplined,
Yep.
that we had the retaining walls covered in the project, just because we have structural in-house. And it's not clearly
10,
defined.
10 footers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a small little knee wall, it's a stairwell.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And that's why, again, similarly to this proposal, civil should be written. Matt should give you a blurb on retaining walls. 019. All right, fees.
You guys gave us a proposal on that job too.
Okay. So fees, so there's 3 different kinds of fees. Fixed fee, well, there's 4 technically, I keep saying that. Fixed fee plus expenses, which is our number one that we really like. I mean, we like time and material, but we can actually not make as much money on time and material. But so if you're doing a fee, we prefer you do a fixed fee plus reimbursable expenses. That should be your first choice, but the owner might not like that. OFCC doesn't allow that. There's a few clients that don't like that. So then you would do a lump sum fee, which includes reimbursable expenses.
Yeah, so this got changed up a little bit since the last time.
Yes.
Why did we change it from our fee is based on fixed fee plus expenses to our lump sum fee to provide the services?
That's Doug and Jackie, I don't know. So,
You forgot the word.
and then of course there's time and material to a max, and then there's time and material, which we love, but we hardly ever get. And it's always usually to a max. Cost plus.
So one thing to note on this
Yes.
is not the first line, but the next two. The last sentence that says attached rate sheet, you have to attach it if you're gonna use those lines.
Exactly. Exactly. Bingo. I delete those lines because I don't like to attach the rate sheet. But
I usually attach the rate sheet whenever I send it.
and then you attach OSR 1, OSR 2, special rate sheet. So again, if you're gonna use that line, attach the rate sheet. Any questions? This is important too. How we, you got a small $3,000 job, I can bill at the end of the project. You got a big job, I want to bill monthly. OFCC says you bill at SDDDCD, that should be defined. How do you bill? Because accounting uses this. I keep trying to tell, everything is all, it's a big circle, guys. What you do goes through and over here, and how they set up their billing terms, and how the project, everything is a big circle. We use everything. This isn't just because we want you to do it. This is our protection, this is our definition, this is what people use up.
Bulk of our job's gonna be monthly, based on percentage of work.
Should be.
And expenses incurred to date.
Then you've got the total fee. It's a circle, the circle of life. Some people want it split out, so you can use this box if they want it split out. If they just want the lump sum fee, there it is.
Sometimes they want to split out by discipline and phase.
Yeah. So you have to add to these boxes. That's where I get Jackie to do that. So John, and they like this need additional thing where we say, okay, we'll provide additional services and it's this much, defined, whatever it is. It's this much for a site visit. It's this much for whatever, which is a good thing. And again, we're going to be adding schedule in here because there's a couple things with schedule we want to make sure. If it's important, if it's not, you can delete it. If it's important, keep it. And again,
I don't know, maybe even put it in as like additional construction administrative tasks are at this amount per hour. And then that could lump into that as well as our advice and chaperones that go over. Or additional meetings or anything.
if that's the way you want to write it to the client, I agree. You write it, this is just to make you realize, hey, a lot of John's clients say, don't give me any CA give me a price per CA. That's where this is really driven from. A lot of clients want it all based up in here, so you're defining it way up there. So, you know,
Commercially, we do projects across the nation, so it's also there to say, well, if I'm doing a construction observation visit in Los Angeles, it's a lot more money than if I'm doing one in Akron, because it takes
right.
much more time to go there and come back. So that's kind of where that started driving from.
Again, your pick or your division head, and then you can send it out, but this person should be reading it. Under 200,000, you can send out any proposal amount.
Should we add that in
Is
the
l-
fee, like, under this amount, you buy this level of staff and all?
$199. For $199.99. Okay, so when you continue down, so this is new. This is,
Is it yours or is it?
it's the Crucko's. No, it's by whoever does the buy.
Whoever does the proposal.
It's always Crucko. If you're using this, it's not in red, you're always using Crucko.
The electronic signatures available on the bridge.
So here's why you want to take it off the bridge. This is new. It's not new, it's what we've had, but we're now attaching it because people are forgetting it. This is where the contract is signed and becomes a legally binding contract per these things. Now,
Are we eliminating the PSA? Or we still doing
this is the PSA. It's basically the PSA,
We're
but
gonna do it all in one shot.
we're doing it all in one shot. They might not agree with your PSA, so okay. But this is our PSA. Yes, personal staff augment. All right, so any questions about the proposal? Yes?
I just want to say, go up to the little paragraph up at the top of your toolbar, Sean. See the little paragraph symbol, click on that, up right there. So I know people have problems occasionally with the headers, footers, formatting. There is some page breaks and section breaks. If you accidentally remove them, you will lose your footers. One way to take care of that is to put that paragraph symbol on, and you can see where they're at so that you don't delete them, which will cause you to lose the headers and footers. Also, with the level headings and formatting, it should renumber if you delete sections. If something crazy happens, you can't get it back, one of your admins should be able to help you with that, or you can ask me for help with that. I think.
Works. Okay? Any other questions? All right, one last thing I wanted to quickly talk about, because you guys are PMs, is Z-hold. So first off, I wanted to make sure we all understand what Z-hold is. Z-hold is, John Michael.
It is time that's used on a project that has been authorized but not yet set up.
Very good. That's the only thing that goes on Z-hold. Not proposal time, not design build time. Design builds go to the P number because it's not realized unless we win the project. If we win the project, we will come back and move all the P number time to the project. Okay? So Z hold time is only for you didn't get your J and you're working on the project. Remember that. I am now reviewing all Z hold time and I will be sending it back to you if it's for the wrong thing. There's a lot of times I see proposal. If we see the word proposal in it, you're not Z hold time. Proposal time is P.
Yeah, there's times that your P isn't set up yet. and you-
No, there's never should be that time. That's why I said you got to get with your admins, and I'm trying to work on that. If you need a quick turnaround, get your P.
What if you don't?
If you don't have a P, it's sales. It's Z company sales. It's Z sales. That's all it is. Put it on the sales number. We'd like the sales to go where it goes, but if you can't because they didn't get you a P quick enough, then it's Z sales or whatever that is. Z company sales or
Sales time too.
sales is sales time.
You got an hour between two meetings, you're stopping at an architect that you haven't seen in a while.
That's sales.
Just to
To
say,
Sean's
hey,
point, it's
not ideal, but it at least captures.
It captures
what
the
we
time.
want from an operational perspective.
Yeah, because from an operational point, revenue is only generated with a J. So P time, whether it's on a P number or Z sales or G's general, that's all put into the pot under, it's non-revenue generating time.
Except for-
It's overhead,
Except for Z-Hold.
except for Z hold.
It's
So-
supposed to be a job and there's some
So-
it's not a J yet.
So you understand, my goal as the Director of Operations is every Monday when I have 1,200 hours of Z hold time,
That's it?
And that's accruing, or is that for 1 week?
that's accruing. Okay, I have 1,150 hours. My job is to be able to tell Gary that that's good. And so our utilization is really 62.1% versus 59 point something because I can add that in. Right now, I can't do that. And I call up this list and I don't try to embarrass people, but it is embarrassing, the truth, because when you, where's Kurt? Okay, so when you're doing this, okay, you don't need to put hold time until J created. I already know that. That's what Z hold is about. You put the job number, the P number, and the title. That's all you put in that line. So this is this stuff is all no good. Accounting doesn't, accounting has 1,000 jobs. PNC Meadville, maybe they can find that. Okay, I will give you that maybe I could find that. But I'll go to some, these all have good P's. John Zegan does a good job.
Well, I mean, I have that Wiley one on there for Brandon, the intern down, and we didn't even have a P number.
Okay. New on-call work for OSU. One of them, I think Mike Carter has a C. What does C mean? Okay. P number, job title, that's all we need. If you don't put that, it's coming back. So as the managers that sit in this room, check your effing Z hold time, please. Send it back. Please. Accounting, think about it. And some of these things are just hilarious. I mean, it's just that one's hilarious. Project 801 Starbucks, we don't even know what that is.
Shows you why we need a template to set up proposals.
Yeah. We
I like
shouldn't,
the hold for Project 801.
we shouldn't
Yeah.
look at the people's, yeah. Okay, here's a good one, and we're not picking on Ron, or Juan. Review drawings, he put the number. Okay, but all I need is a number. That's not a good one. Why doesn't this? I thought it was a touch screen. I wish I could find that one. Prepare schedules. Isn't it a little, you got to chuckle, but you've probably all done it in some way, shape, or form. It's really,
It
just,
must have been that onboarding training.
it's really simple.
You'd have a separate meeting with somebody.
No, you don't. Because, listen, the meeting I should be having here is with, or is it you? Who does Juan work for?
Brian Kane.
I should be meeting with Brian Kane, because that should never get through Brian Kane.
So when it comes to, you think you put that J number in because the project was frozen, so he couldn't bill it?
I don't know.
Is that what you would do if somebody,
If John Krucko locks out a J number and says, don't ever bill it, and you would put the J number in the comments. If you really felt it was work, you'd put the J number and say, job is inactive.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Because at least I'm going to find that in that week, and I'm going to go search it down and either remove it or keep it. It's either good or it's bad. And again, that's my goal I don't care if there's 1,200 hours there. I always want to be able to say 1,200 hours is all good. That's $120,000 sitting there.
We need to
Think
talk
about it.
what if you're doing work on a project that's been billed and closed out and it comes back and you're
That's
working
general
on it,
engineering.
so it goes to general, not say
As long as,
animals or
like,
anything like that.
Closed out, you're not gonna get any money for
you're not gonna get any money for it.
Right,
But
so where
that's,
do you
that's not
document that law?
Crucko shutting down the job.
Right, but where
2
do you
weeks,
document that
You
law?
put it in the bottom,
Just
under general engineering.
So if you had, this is what I don't agree with, so if you had 60 hours of billable work that week, somebody sends you something, they need it right away, it's not your fault that the company can't get any more money for it.
Right.
But
It-
it's general, so you can't get paid
Or you
overtime.
talk to Kurt, and Kurt.
Kurt
says
works
you
it out
have
with
to,
you.
And Kurt says, I'm giving you that, you're paid overtime.
Yeah, or Kurt says, bill that to that job, or Kurt says, we'll put this on the next timesheet, because Dale and Kurt know how to work the system, just like John Michael and all of us know.
So we know how to talk to Brian, he knows how to work.
Yes. I never
But
want,
then Aaron, it has to go through Aaron too, until he retracts it
If-
and kicks
if-
it back.
if there's legitimate general engineering time, which is very rare, it can still get paid. If you read the rules, it's pre-approved. So my first thing is I would go to, Kurt, and I would say, Kurt, I'm gonna be working on this closed J number. And I got all this other stuff, and Kurt's gonna say, okay, I'm approving that. And then Kurt's gonna tell me, Sean, I'm approving Danielle because this J number's closed, and we're never gonna get any more money for it. So, you just, if you communicate, which we all seem to have trouble with, you gotta do, you can't, we're never gonna send out crap, we're gonna finish the job. We're never gonna close a job just because it's out of money. That person will get shot next time. So no one should ever come to you and say, no one should ever come to you and say, but I have had where, 8 months later, a job pops up that needs a couple hours to close it or something, and it's been closed, so, yeah.
I mean, your, what?
60 hours.
No, I'm just talking.
All right, okay.
I'm
A week and
talking
60.
just hourly, like you have 20 hours of overtime, you don't wanna.
Yeah. But that can be approved in special circumstances. Because you don't even know, let's say that closed job, Joe made a 4.0 on it, and he closed it 6 months ago because it was done, and he's got working on it, and it's, okay, I made 4.0, so.
Doesn't matter, we already took the revenue.
We took the revenue, I understand.
Now it's a loss.
Now it's a loss. At least you guys understand the concept of WIP, but overall in the years thing, it's okay.